Hello and welcome back to another Truth Thursday. I am excited about today's topic. It's one that is both fascinating and confusing at all at the same time. So excited to dive in. So one of the things that I have been experiencing personally is the process of planning for maternity leave. Many of you may or may not know we're expecting our baby girl at the end of March. 32 days from today, actually. That's crazy. Many of you probably are laughing at me, like, right, Stacy. It's going to be exactly 32 days and 15 minutes, and she'll be here. I know, planning for that. But truthfully, one of the things that has been so interesting to me, especially over the last 60 days, is where my mind has gone as I have prepared for maternity leave, which really is an extended vacation, right? At least for me. I'm planning to be offline for a certain amount of time, and it's really no different than a vacation. I want to be clear to you. I do not think bringing a baby into this world is a vacation. But my point in sharing this with you in this way is that my mind has not been able to process this maternity leave. And what's been so fascinating is my mind has gone into this place of, how will this work? How will that work? How is this going to work in the business? How is this going to unfold personally? Right? There's so many questions, especially bringing life into the world. And really, my situation is no different than maybe your new project you're bringing into the world, your new idea, your new thought leadership, that new venture you want to pursue. The question of how plagues us, right? The question of, how will this unfold? How will I do this? What are the 10 things I need to make sure of, to plan for? How many bridges do I need to cross in my mind so that I can make sure and prepare, prevent, think about consequences or ways I can prepare in advance? And so my journey of planning, to go on maternity leave is interesting, because where my mind has gone is it's gone to a focus on problems. It's gone to a focus on how. It's gone into doubt. It's gone into disempowering thoughts. Coming from someone like myself that does this all day, every day, right? Of catching thoughts and being aware and really being focused on being more conscious, this has been fascinating, especially in preparation for, our conversation today. It was timely to be able to link this for you and have a different perspective of how even this shows up for me and what I do about it. And so in the process of planning, in the process of just thinking about all the things I need to think about, one thing that's been fascinating is that my brain, the mind, has been focused on the potential problems, the potential things that could go wrong, or even going into the problem of simply just being fearful of a new experience, right? Especially someone like myself who has been, able to rely on myself for my entire life. It's a different game when physically you're changing. And so what this brought up for me was this awareness of how, even when you're focusing on a great situation, a great outcome, that the mind still thinks about and serves up potential downfalls, potential problems. You've probably heard that the mind is not here to keep us happy. It's here to keep us safe. And in my example, yes, it's a maternity leave. Yes, it's bringing a baby into the world. But for you, it could be, again, launching that new product, that project, thinking about exiting your corporate career, whatever the case may be. There's an excitement of this new venture, but the mind serves up the problem. The mind looks for the danger. The mind looks for the threat. And I want to take this a step further, because sometimes the mind looks for problems or threats in areas we don't even think about. Threats of our approval, threats on our belonging, and how we're perceived in the world. And so I mentioned this to you because when you can start to see that even when you're pursuing something exciting, that the mind can still serve up something that's a problem to help you become aware of it, to keep you safe. What you can start to do is you can start to say, thank you, but I got this. I don't need to focus on the problems because I am solution oriented, because I am choosing to, I'm committed to focusing on the solution in this way. And so one of the ways that I've found that I wanted to share with you today, the way that I've found this sneaky brain tactic to be most fascinating is when you are launching something exciting, when you are embarking on something positive. The way in which I have personally seen the mind serve up a problem that can often distract me and get my focus, and then all of a sudden I'm having disempowering thoughts or doubts or all the things, is when I drop into the how. When something is new to me, when something is maybe outside of my realm of expertise, when something is, most of the time it's around something that's new. But it can also be when I'm looking at something from a limited perspective. When I am looking at something from a limited perspective, or I'm doing something new, what I tend to do, and I'm sure you can relate, is start to think of, okay, what are the things that need to happen to execute to fulfill this new thing? What are the things that I need to think about since I know I'm looking at something in a limited view? What are the things I need to think about to look at this from a different perspective? In those instances, what I find is that a to-do list can be formed and what to do becomes the focus. And I often like to say in my work, what I'm really on this planet to do is help people really understand their beingness, understand the way to harness how to be their full selves in the world, not another to-do list, not something to do. And so when we find ourselves focused on the problem, when we find ourselves doing something new, and we focus on what's not possible or roadblocks that might be in our way, that can take us away from the truth, which is in those moments when things aren't clear, in those moments when you can only see the problem, those are the moments that you need to lean into your beingness the most. Because what's actually being asked of you? What's actually asked of me as I step into this next level of leadership in my life, as a mom, as a powerful entrepreneur, as a leader, is actually my next level of beingness, which is why my brain almost shorted out, right, when I'm starting to think about this. So when you are up against something that seems unsurmountable, a new pursuit where all you can see are the blocks, all you can see are the obstacles, what I want to encourage you to do is don't make another to-do list right away. Instead, ask yourself, who do I need to become to step into this next level? What do I need to be to thrive in this next level? For me, it's very much stepping into the fullness of who I am, which is I'm an enterpriser. I like my different projects going, and I need the team and the people to help support, right? So it's very much focused on team for me. It's very much focused on who is in my world that's helping us make the impact in the world that we want to make the impact to, and really staying in my lane, because when that all happens, it's magical. But I have to bring a different level of beingness to the table to go all in on this chapter. And so for you, if you are pursuing something new, if you are, up against a roadblock and you can't see the way through, Instead of making a strategic plan, because I know that's my go-to, right? What are we going to do to overcome this, work around it, get over it? Instead of making that list, what I encourage you to do today is actually ask yourself a different question. Who do I need to be? And not just who do I need to be, but who do I want to be? Who do I want to be in this next chapter? Because the answer to that question is actually going to create a different to-do list. It's probably going to be shorter because when you focus on being, there's a lot less to do. You can be much more direct in your approach, bold in what you need to do, and less in the weeds on things. Because when you're focused on your way of being, you connect to your guidance, you connect to inspired thought, you connect to what really matters and what's really going to actually move the needle. And so ask yourself, who do I need to be? What do I want to be? Who do I desire to be? And when you ask that question, you're going to have more inspired thought so that we can stop the addiction to the problems and stop allowing ourselves to get distracted by the roadblocks or the obstacles or the things that we get stuck in, because we all do. But if you can see that the way you get stuck is when you're in the how do I do something? Versus who do I need to be? What do I need to be? That's when everything changes. That's when you access more empowered thought and information so that you can really step into this next level instead of letting the to-dos, letting the hows, letting all of that get in your way, because it's very distracting. We are all very good at doing things. What is up for us to master as a human collective currently is our way of being. Is more about embodiment than doing. It's more about how are we moving through the world versus what did we get done today? How can we make big moves? How can we play chess, not checkers? When you ask these questions, you can stop the addiction to the problems, because you've all heard the quote, right? We can't solve the problem at the same level of consciousness that we created the problem. When we ask how, or when we're stuck in the how, we're at the same level of consciousness of the problem. And we seek other problems because as soon as you solve one, two others pop up. As soon as you check one thing off of your checklist, two more things are a byproduct of getting that one thing done. When we focus on our way of being, it changes everything because we're no longer at the level of the problem. We're no longer at the level of seeking the how. We're at the level of our true nature, of our true selves. And in that level, the abundance of resources and ideas and strategic moves and chess moves instead of checker moves are brilliant. And so after you watch this today, think about this in your own life. How are you moving through the world? Are you able to disconnect from the consciousness of the problem and elevate yourself and focus on who do I need to be to step into what this level of life opportunity is asking of me? When you ask that question, you're going to get more inspired thought, and you're going to start realizing what it feels like to live and be in the world without this endless list of to-dos, of problems to solve. And instead, focus more on your way of being and who you need to become to serve at the level that's up for you to serve at. So here's to setting this how aside. Here's to setting the checklist aside just for a moment and asking ourselves, who do we need to be today to elevate, to make the change that we want to make? And to, instead of going down and dipping to the level of the problem that we're trying to solve, thus seeking more problems to solve, how do we elevate? How do we instead focus on our way of being? So let's focus on this as we wrap up this week. And I look forward to seeing you same time next week for Truth Thursday.